Hello everybody! Friday everyone!
Hello everybody!
Friday everyone!
Hello everybody!
And
Friday everyone!
it seems
Everybody!
That's nice.
It was funny.
Oh,
Well,
that was a good one.
yeah, welcome to our stream series about KeenTools and tracking. And today I'm happy to say that with us Mads Hagbarth. And let me introduce him because I know him quite good and quite long time, and he's incredible. He is author of lots of different plugins, and he started plugins development even earlier than we started, like probably 7 years ago. Matt started it earlier, and his plugins were always kind of inspiration for us. And probably you've heard about Stickit, probably you've heard about Point Render, and lots of different stuff he's already created. One of my favorite one was Lue. It's called Lue, yeah?
Lue? Yeah.
Lue, which was a kind of a color grading tool for Nuke, like color grading, but how it should be done. Should we add something?
No, that's actually, I think it's pretty good. Actually, regarding Lue, I think that it's there's a lot of tools that are like hanging a bit that needs to be updated for PyQt, the latest version. And I'm just waiting for Python 3 support for Nuke. Who knows, it may be arrive in the future. But when it does, I'll be sure to have all of those nice plugins updated. The gradient editor and Lue and yeah.
Yeah, so, and today we are going to talk about FaceTracker. Mads, can I ask you to keep an eye on YouTube chat and answer and ask all questions that you think relevant? And regarding questions, you can ask them in chat, and of course between streams, everybody is welcome to our Discord server, and we answer all questions on everyday basis. So it's not the first stream. It's like I'd say the 7th one, and we already discussed in details pin tool. It's a positioning tool for Nuke. Also GeoTracker, it's object geometry tracker for Nuke, and we discussed lots of tips, tricks, and also deformable tracking and so on. And last time with Hugo here we discussed FaceBuilder, and but it wasn't the last time. The last time my colleague Artyom presented FaceBuilder for Blender in all details, because there was a new version that we just released. And yeah, this time it's FaceTracker's order, and yeah, let's discuss it. But before we start, as some icebreaker, let's discuss some news. And probably everybody already heard about it, because yesterday Nuke released a new version of Nuke, and a new version of Nuke Indie with OFX plugin support, which is really
really nice.
Huge move, and I'm happy to say that we are currently working with the Foundry team to make KeenTools plugins available in Nuke Indie starting from the next version as well. The
that was about, I mean, it was interesting to hear like the last conversation also regarding with Hugo regarding sort of how the initial feedback for that third-party plugin support, or the lack of thereof. So it's really nice to see them sort of so quickly getting in and changing those things.
I think
it's,
that
I mean,
it
it's
was
a
the
no-brainer.
plan. Last time when we were chatting about it with Hugo, my idea was that, okay, Nuke Indie is not probably is not the amazing trade-off. It wasn't an amazing trade-off between price and features, but it's obviously better than nothing, because it's kind of trade-off, because trade-off is always better than no non-compromise way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and
But it's interesting. I wonder what, I mean, like the third-party OFX plugins, does that mean that regular third-party plugins are not supported? Or is that just
yes,
OFX plugins?
regular plugins are not supported. Regular, you mean NDK-based. They are not supported, obviously, for the reason that it basically gives you ability to export everything from Nuke India to ordinary Nuke. And that was the reason to restrict Python and to restrict NDK-based plugins and so on. And that's why they will provide NDK-based plugins on some special key basis. They will provide developers with some key. We are just discussing it, and then we can release it, and they sure that we won't release something that break the business model.
Okay, that makes sense. Because I was thinking like, oh, you guys don't have an OFX plugin because that's your like native the KeenTools.
We actually already took a look at OFX, and there is no way to create such an experience in OFX, because OFX mostly is about 2D, and as we work with,
it's quite sad. I mean, even sort of just the general OFX, the state of OFX, it's sad that there's not more support for it at the current time.
Yeah, I believe that actually OFX isn't supported in some other software as well. For example, it could be a reason for
Resolve,
us
for example,
to create OFX if it would support in After Effects, but it doesn't.
Oh yes. I mean, the first tool that you guys created, the pin tool, it's so amazing. I mean, I could imagine like even if you had like enough geometry support inside of After Effects, that would be really cool to have that as well. And FaceTracker for that case. I mean, that would be nice.
By the way, there is a FaceTracker in After Effects, but it's pretty unusable.
Yeah, but a good one.
Okay, so and now let's go to FaceTracker, and I'm gonna start with a show demo video from the last FaceTracker release. Boom. I like it. So everything is really cool on demos as usual, but but in today we're gonna try everything on real projects, like hands-on and in all details. Last time I told a story how FaceBuilder was created and how we got the idea, and actually the story behind FaceTracker is pretty the same, not the same, but we actually, when we created FaceBuilder, we decided, wow, basically we can create FaceTracker too. And we can now not only create the head and track it, but also deform it based on some statistical model of deformation. So we generally know how people can move muscles on their face, and based on this we create a deformation model for the mesh, and it's pretty similar to FaceBuilder one. So internally it's almost the same mathematical model, and that's why we decided why not, and created FaceTracker pretty shortly after FaceBuilder, like probably in a half a year, but it took like even more than a year to release it, the first version. So let's try. We have several projects for today, and the first one is a project from this demo, and I actually already created a part of it. So there is, so what we're going to track this guy. His name is Anthony, and he is one of the main developers of FaceTracker and all mathematics behind it. And we're gonna track him with all these movements, and I already created his face in FaceBuilder.
How many are you on the team? Like for the whole KeenTools team?
The whole, oops, something hangs.
Oh, shouldn't have asked that.
That's the issue. I said I have some issue with hard drive. I have no idea what is it. I tried to solve it, but with no luck. So currently we are a team of 9 people, and 7 of them are developers. And okay, so here several photos from different angles of view. We took these photos for face building, and we also, if we open metadata, we can find the camera information for it. So focal length is 35 millimeters, and the camera is Panasonic GH4. So basically it means that it's 1/2 matrix and 35 millimeters. I put all values here, and now in FaceBuilder, after that, in FaceBuilder I've created, whoa, what's going on here?
Whoa, shit.
Hehe, that's funny. That's funny. Basically, as usual, I've created, I set up the current developer build for it. And you know, current developer build is not probably the thing which should be used for demonstration, but as I use these streams also for testing, yeah, this funny.
It's completely crazy.
This model is terribly small for some reason.
There we go.
What's going on? And well, first of all, it's pretty. What's the reason for this? Oh,
That's crazy. Never seen that before.
Probably it's because of rigidity. Gonna switch it to 1. No. It's funny. It's not funny actually, but whoa.
Looks strange.
I even can't. So it seems that we need to create it from scratch now.
Yeah.
Why not? It's not that long. because it was created in a previous build, and usually I start with 3/4. I'm gonna try to do it as fast as I can, and at the same time pretty accurate because we need it for tracking.
Yeah, regarding there was like the comment last time regarding sort of adding sort of a support for like maybe PostNet or some OpenCV automatic face alignment.
We are actually experimenting with it quite heavily now, and we already have a build for automatic aligning of the model based on facial features. And I hope that we will release it this year. Probably. There are some issues with the size of distributive and so on, because neural networks, which for landmarks and so on, they are quite heavy, and but yeah, it's actually probably not the main issue, but one of the issues. And also we should be sure that they all produce good results in all cases, which is not often the case. So yeah, I've did it on one view. Let's now switch to the other view.
I remember at some point there was some guy who created like a like just a basic OpenCV plugin for doing like just like landmarks, and it was quite cool back in the before I actually knew what OpenCV was and how it worked. I was just, oh my god, you can actually like do almost like Snapchat filters for that kind of thing.
We actually tried to do it with OpenCV as well. Honestly, there are quite a lot of issues with OpenCV, and in terms of quality and in terms of some technical stuff, because it's native library, which not that easy to support and to build for different platforms, because we provide distributives for Nuke on all platforms, like for Mac, for Windows, and so on. And it's we actually have some OpenCV version internally, but the later versions are quite strange in this aspect. You basically, by the way, I know that Point Render is Blink script based tool, right? And Blink script is also banned in Nuke Indie, right?
It's supported, yeah. Actually, it was interesting because in the beginning, both Nuke Indie and non-commercial, they had that restriction that you couldn't use Blink script. And I was a big advocate, of course, for opening that up, especially for people who really want to learn it. Because if you're like bound, usually when people have to learn something, they have to do it like in their spare time. And if you're bound by a commercial license, that's just not going to happen. So opening that up for both for the indie version, but also for the non-commercial version, that was pretty amazing. So yeah, and that was Nuke 12.2 that they added that. So it was really nice to see that, because I mean, again, like just like OFX, like that, there's not. I don't see anything that you can do inside a Blink script that you wouldn't be able to just, I mean, do with nodes or something. And yeah, of course, a little bit more advanced stuff, but not necessarily, try to get out of the sort of limitations of the regular Nuke Indie or Nuke non-commercial sort of boundaries. I'm still a bit skeptical about the whole Python limitations. It's interesting. I do have an Indie license, and I've sort of figured out sort of how, what kind of. It's not about making workarounds. It's about making something that, if you have a certain script that you get on Nupedia, how you get it to work if it's beyond a certain amount of lines. So it's interesting, like trying to stack as much code together as you can. So yeah.
Yeah, I understand the intention of Foundry,
Of course,
why
yeah.
they restricted it,
Yeah.
but yeah, of course because I don't do money of Nuke, so for me, of course, less number of limitations is better, but all this ecosystem stuff is
Fully agreed.
it's so complex always.
So we have a question here from Fabster, who says he's working at a studio where the 3 departments get scans of an actor. Would having FBX or Olympic of the head be helpful to skip the FaceBuilder process?
Yeah, we discussed it a bit later, but yeah, you can skip the FaceBuilder process and just wrap the head in FaceBuilder topology. So, because topology is kind of a key to understand inside FaceTracker what is what on a mesh.
Yeah.
So, I think that we basically recreated this model pretty rapidly in FaceBuilder. I didn't try to create ears as accurate as I can, because actually later you can see he's in his ears are covered and we can't see it. So there's no reason to create them accurately. And yeah, so let's delete this FaceBuilder and connect this FaceBuilder. Let's export face transform geo from it and connect it to texture builder. Up in texture builder, I auto detect it and create it here and connect it here and apply it here. Should work. Oops, something wrong.
Looks crazy.
Why so? Oh, because no camera information here. Okay. Yep.
That looks good.
Here it is. By the way, I'm gonna show you one new feature here in FaceBuilder, or in Texture Builder. We have a small. Is it already here? Equalize brightness. It's not yet in this build. Yeah, so yeah, unfortunately I can't show it. Oh, I can. No, I can't show it. Okay, so you're gonna see it on the next release, hopefully next week. Because we created a model that can cover all these holes much more accurate based on some skin model. In Texture Builder, it's especially important for face building in Blender. So, okay, cool. We created a model, and now we can create.
Just like for the texture itself, it's kind of like putting in the missing details.
Not really details, high frequency details, but just general tone which aligns.
Yeah,
with
just low frequency. Yeah.
So yeah. Okay, so now we create FaceTracker. It has 4 inputs. We're gonna discuss today 3 of them. One is camera, one is geometry, and one is background. We are not going to discuss texture today, probably a bit later. So FaceTracker basically is pretty similar to GeoTracker and FaceBuilder. So it's kind of combination of FaceBuilder and GeoTracker. So the idea is pretty similar. So first of all, we're gonna okay, it's already here. Yeah, we're gonna set up a first keyframe. Let's find some frame, for example this one, and we just drag and drops parts of the mesh to corresponding positions on the frame. and it will automatically deform the model in order to match these pins. Let's see what's going on in 3D. So I'm gonna create one more viewer here and connect it here and put it side by side and switch on lightning. So here's my model. Oops. And oops, sorry. FaceTracker. So when I drag pins, it let's move his chin. It opens, it changes the mesh and also changes the position. So it automatically solves two tasks simultaneously.
There's actually a question here from Couple Sick, currently using FaceTracker and Builder on a TV series. Is there a way to avoid the warping/movement on different areas of the models from where you're currently manipulating? So where only like local adjustments rather than having the head maybe float a bit out, or something like that?
I'd say that
I usually turn off the auto rigidity.
The general question, the general answer would be no. It's impossible now. But you can minimize movement of all other parts if you have more number of pins, and you can also play with this rigidity thing here, and make the model more not that rigid, because this rigidity basically affects local vs global deformation. But we are actually working on a local deformation model right now, and probably we improve it in future. We definitely improve it in future. So let's take a look what's going on here. And first of all, we can't match the neck, because actually currently in FaceTracker there is no deformation between neck and head. So there is no rotation on the neck and no rotation like this. So usually for face tracking I just switch off the neck completely in FaceBuilder. I just switch off the neck. Hopefully in pretty soon future with a new deformation model we release some modifiers for neck as well. But yeah, currently it's impossible. Okay.
I usually turn up the auto rigidity for like just aligning the head, and then then turn it on again for just the fine tuning the mesh. Just a sort of a comment on that one.
Yep. Yeah, basically that's a correct approach, exactly. So here now we can just click track, and it fails without pre-analysis data. Fortunately, I already calculated it, and
it's really nice that it just defaults to a location, so you don't need to have to manually type something in, like with the Smart Vector tool where you had to type in an actual path. I really like that approach, just automatically putting it in there.
Speed up the process as much as it possible for actual user, and because we are the first users of our tools, that was really handy for us. So let's track to start, and here it is. Well, one of the issues that you're gonna feel that we actually currently track eye blinking not that good as it could be. The problem is that when you close your eyes, there are some new features that that were not presented on a previous frame. So we can easily track opening eyes when you open your eyes, but not when you close it. So that's why usually if you really need eye blinking, you can set up keyframes on closed eyes, like here. So I set up keyframe here, and now when I hit refine, something goes wrong. There is some extra keyframe. Let's open this, close this pane. There is one keyframe here for some reason. Yeah, so yeah, now refine it. And most likely after refine, it will open the eyes correctly and close them too.
Ah, yes.
And this way now. Up. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Not all the way.
Yep. Now it's okay. Yeah, now let's drag forward. It's because I'm on the wrong keyframe. Up again. Okay, let's forget about eye blinking for now. I hope that soon we will release a special knob here for eye blinking in model, and I even switch off track blinking because usually I don't need it. So I switch off track blinking, and again I'm tracking forward. And
I actually didn't know that that button was there, the track blinking. My eyes just completely, glanced over it, I guess.
yeah, often you just don't need it, and that's why you can switch off. By the way, here also, you see there is some movement, some undesirable movement, and usually if something goes wrong a bit, probably it was to cover some parts or switch off some parts. For example, in this particular case, I'm gonna switch off my ears, most likely because I don't need them here in FaceTracker. But they're still here. Why so? Okay, it was a cache problem. And yeah, let's try again. I actually can see that it's a bit better now. Just a bit, but it's okay. So let's set up keyframe, fix these issues. The better model you get during the FaceBuilder building process, the better result you get on FaceTracker. And for instance, here I'm not sure that we created nose correctly, but okay. Let's work with the model we have. And click. I don't like this. Yeah, you see, for instance, here, returning to the question we had before. Let's discuss rigidity right now. Here I can't set up it absolutely correctly because when I drag, for instance, here, something breaks in other place. So I can switch off auto rigidity and make it a bit lower. And now when I'm gonna drag it here, it almost have no changes here. And now it's better. But it's
one place where you usually have issues is like the mouthpiece, like out here, instead of the edges of the mouth. Like if they have like sometimes their mouth is like in sort of a strange like shape, so it can be hard to get like the just the edges. It's rare that I actually need that part that much, but I mean that's usually the thing I battle most with.
Yeah, basically, well, to be completely honest, I'm not happy entirely with the quality of the deformation model we have. And we are constantly improving it, and we hope to release a new version fairly soon, also hopefully by the end of the year, and it will be much better. Internally, we already tested it, and it's much better. And but at the moment, we have this model, and it's pretty good as well.
It's definitely good.
And so, let's go further.
Also, sometimes if people have like lipstick on, it's hard to figure out, okay, where exactly does the lip start and where does it end?
It's not only about lipstick, it's also about eyebrows. Because, you know, ladies often change the form of the eyebrows, and it's not that easy to understand where the original hair was, and that could be an issue. Okay, let's pause it. We already tracked this part, and yeah, so also sometimes you see there is such a problem when the middle line of the head changes its direction here. It's pretty important to fix it, because it means that your jaw moves in horizontal direction, which usually not the case. And yeah, it should be like this.
If I want to like just modify the back head, if the front of the face is sort of, or some of the features in the front are matching perfectly, but you want to sort of, you know, move the back, is there like a way to like not see the front of the face?
Well, you may create a pin on some other keyframe, and you'll see this pin. For example, if I click on pin here on this keyframe, I still can't see it. So, for instance, you can create some fake keyframe somewhere, put the pin on the back of the head, and you'll still see it here, and you can move
see
it.
that one.
So I'd say it could be the way how to change the position of the back of the head. We actually, in the next release, because there is no such word in English, head back. I don't know how we created it. And now we renamed it to some proper word. I can't remember what one. There is an issue when you are not a native speaker. So let's take a look. And basically like this. And you can always wait until. Yeah, there are some issues here on a cheek, and some of them could be easily fixed. For example, here, and just add one more keyframe. But again, given that this model is a statistical one, and there is no local deformation model, sometimes you just can't get absolutely perfect matching. We are working on this, but it's not always possible. But the cool thing that you, for example, if you want to change the texture, you can always stabilize it afterwards. So if we now create a scanline, first of all we need to project the texture. So let's create project 3D, set up cameras, and create front, and create apply material. Now we have textured model. Again, we have to wait one full circle to cache it, or even two. Here it is. And now we can create scanline render and set it in UV projection mode. Hey Nuke. To speed up this, let's switch off all other channels. It's always so long. Why so? Yeah, cool. And let's track it. Let's cache it. So in ideal world, when you track the head movement, there's no movement at all in this projection view, and the texture is absolutely locked. And like, but then you can apply. But yeah, you see, sometimes there is some small movement here. And you can apply smart vectors or stick it on top of this to lock the projection completely, entirely. And the cool thing that usually the just 2D methods like smart vectors, they fail on fast movement, on some occlusions and so on, and that's why, but they perfectly work in UV space because the texture is actually almost stabilized, and you can easily fix it with just some small movements and so on. And then you can apply fixes to your texture and then reapply everything back. So, so generally, FaceTracker is pretty similar to GeoTracker. So it also has pre-analysis file. It also has model. No, model is something specifically made for FaceTracker, and we also already discussed it. It has track blinking checkbox and some rigidity, and everything else like focal lengths estimation, masks, render, and so on. It's all the same like in GeoTracker. So here I have to refer to our streams about GeoTracker and say that we already discussed it. So we won't discuss it right now. And let's switch back to the presentation and discuss what are the differences between FaceTracker and GeoTracker, and when you need to track the model with a GeoTracker and when you need to use FaceTracker. And it's pretty interesting thing. So first of all, of course, you need to use GeoTracker when you don't need facial movements. It's pretty obvious. By the way, we can create here at Mads. Just let's create GeoTracker, and the cool thing that it could use the same input data, cameras, the same geometry, the same background, and what is more important, oh, trial will expire in 1 day, oh god.
That's good.
And what is more important, we can use the same pre-calculation file.
Yeah, that's nice.
And yeah, so the only thing that you're gonna miss is there is no this cool coloring on top of the mesh, and of course you can't match, for example, his smile. So usually when you track just a head with the help of GeoTracker, you put an eye, put pins on eyes, on nose, and actually keep in mind that the rest of the head could be a bit different. And yeah, so let's create it something like this.
We had an interesting challenge at work where we needed to add some reflections to some glasses, and we both tried with both the GeoTracker and the FaceTracker. And because there was so much movement in the head, I mean, you can do the pain region where you say that you don't want to track a certain area, but just having that automatically, that meant that it didn't run off so many times. So it was easier for us to use the FaceTracker, and then exactly like that, exactly. So it's just easier to just have it just accept everything, and then use the FaceTracker to do the tracking. And then we applied like 2 cards in front of the eyes instead of the distance from the camera where the glasses were, and we applied some reflections to that. So in that case, it worked.
And at the end of the day, you use FaceTracker for this.
Yeah, FaceTracker, yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, here we can cover it as you said with some painting on top, or we can switch off jaw and mouth, and and we're gonna have something like this. And yeah, the cool thing about GeoTracker, it's much faster. So because it doesn't try to to solve facial movements. Yeah. And here.
That's good to know.
It's still here, and I'm gonna switch it and change it a little bit. But the bad thing is that it's really hard to align it, because with FaceTracker you can align open mouse and so on, and here you have to use your imagination to understand actually where it should be, here or here, because there is not so many points that you can use for alignment. And let's finish this process. Okay, yeah, we are done. So basically now, whoa, Nuke, what are you doing?
It won't let you. Oh shit!
It's actually
something changed.
It's really strange feature of Nuke. It's not a feature. Actually it's a bug, and we experienced it quite a lot of different times. And the only way is just to clear the cache. And there is this. We can repeat it on any node, not only on our nodes, and it's pretty strange thing when sometimes in your plugin the wrong context in NDK. It's a kind of a combination of the, but the most important thing is the number of frame, and you get the wrong frame number, and oh, it's weird. So yeah, let's recache it again. So oh god, we still have this issue. Yep, and there we go.
Oh.
I have no idea what's going on.
What? Did it help to turn full frame processing on? Or was it just something you had on before?
I actually just switched it off.
Right.
And it doesn't cache anything. I have no idea why it's so. But yeah, so probably we're gonna catch this bug someday, but most likely it's on the NDK side. Yeah, so something like this. We are done. And yeah, so generally if you need just a head movement, then you can use GeoTracker. And usually it's faster and more reliable. But sometimes it leads to the problem with setting up keyframes. And if you need facial movement, then in most cases you need FaceTracker. So, but the cool idea is that it could be combined, they could be combined together. So you can track the model, so you can track head movement with GeoTracker and facial deformations with FaceTracker. So how to create it? So first you track the model with GeoTracker. Could you imagine what to do next?
So you put that geo into the FaceTracker or what?
Nope. And it
Nope.
it could be just a natural way to make something like this. But
Yep.
it's pretty strange to track moving geometry.
Yep.
So in GeoTracker, we do the following. As a result, we export tracked camera. So it would be such a camera that is floating around the model, which is located in 0, 0, 0. And yeah, let's switch off back all the stuff. And where's our camera? Here it is. So now we have a floating camera around the model located in 0, 0, 0. And then in FaceTracker, let's create a new FaceTracker. We then use the original model, which is in 0, 0, 0, of course background, and this camera. So now in FaceTracker, our model is already on the correct place.
All right.
Moreover, we can fix its position with a fixed checkbox on a results tab. And now when we're gonna track, so we now can set up keyframe. Okay, let's set up keyframe for instance here. And now when we drag, it doesn't change the position, only deformation of the model. So only deformational part of the solver. And the issue could be when you tracked something wrong in GeoTracker, obviously. But generally, if your GeoTracker is okay, this part is pretty enjoyable. So now I can track it. I can't, okay. Then we use again the same pre-analysis file in FaceTracker. Cool. So let's try again. Is it the same FaceTracker? Yep. And we'll change only deformation now.
One side question, can you run the analysis? Can you run that in batch mode, like non-GUI version of Nuke?
Yeah, I can.
Like if you want to set up a bunch of plates prior to...
We can run in a batch, and I can send you a small Python snippet how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Internally, we have even a standalone for this to run everything on everywhere. But yeah, with the help of Nuke, you can. So yeah, just with one keyframe, we got the result with all movement and so on. So when it's good to use such an approach, when we have fast movement, when you need to struggle first with some movement of the head, and then you, for example, you understand that you need the movement of the jaw as well, and so on, and then you can just add FaceTracker on top of GeoTracker. And as a result, we have a model which is located in 0, 0, 0, and just moves and plays the actor's movement. And that's basically the way how to use this data, for example, in games and so on. So you can just take this information and add on top of some other object, some other character. So here in FaceTracker, then we need to get the final result somehow, and to get it we need actually in GeoTracker export now transform geo and apply it on top of this FaceTracker. Now this model is perfectly tracked in terms of facial gestures, and it has correct position. That's the idea. And yeah, so there is a way how to combine FaceTracker and GeoTracker, and usually you can get much better results in complex shots using both of them. Okay, let's go further. Suitable for fast motion, complex shots, yep, same precalc file, isolation. The next thing, FaceTracker plus FaceBuilder, and it's pretty interesting stuff. So I'm not sure whether you've seen it before or not, but FaceBuilder now supports facial expressions as well. So you can use FaceBuilder not only on reference photos, but usually if you have no photos, you have just a footage. And you have somehow to work with it without any additional information. So here we have a footage with this lady, and she moves in really strange way. She moves backwards. And at the very end of the shot, she's rotating out of the camera. Up. So let's play with this footage. So I want to first of all create FaceBuilder to get the model. The problem is that I actually don't know camera information. I just create some camera with standard size here, like 3624, and we're gonna estimate facial focal length information. And first of all, let's start with FaceBuilder. So here in FaceBuilder, we know that it's some fixed focal length. And also, let's gonna try first some try to find some neutral expressions on her face. Actually, there are not a lot. Even even here, it's not neutral. Look at her face on her mouth. So prior the last FaceBuilder release, you had to use your imagination to understand how her face should look like in neutral expression. But here in FaceBuilder now we can actually click non-neutral expressions, and now let's create a first keyframe. So, and I actually already demoed it last time on a stream with Hugo Guerra, but it's still fun to show. So here now you see that it's focal length is changing when I drag pins.
Ah, yes.
And oh, what's going on with facial expression? Come on. Oop. Open. Open it.
Yep.
What are you doing? I have no idea why. What's going on? It's pretty strange. Hey, where's your expressions? Body. Something strange is going on. If I create new FaceBuilder, FaceBuilder, background, camera, center geo, menu expressions. Probably we found some bug.
Let's see. Oh, there we go. Much better. What?
Okay, I'm gonna just do this wrong one. And focal lengths. Fixed focal lengths. Okay. Okay. So now reset expression, remove pins, and let's try again. But actually, it was strange. I'm gonna try to repeat it. Fortunately, it's not the. You have to do in such approach when there is lots of different ticks here. You have to do it really accurately. Like try to set up pins correctly as much as it possible, because otherwise it's just impossible to solve it. And oh God.
So it's kind of only using the parts that are sort of non-rigid to do the solve in order to get the focal length. So how does it work sort of under the hood?
Well, basically, the head is almost a sphere. Based on it, you can try to estimate focal length information.
Oh.
And also deformation of the facial expressions and facial movement, they are pretty different. And that's why we can identify what is what somehow, and that's why it works. But of course, the quality of it is less than the quality of the reference photos and so on. Of course.
Yes.
It's.
But I mean, that kind of thing is like the perfect scenario for using that kind of tool, because sometimes you get like a random shot from like a stock footage library that the client have bought, and it's like, okay, what is the focal length of this? You don't know. It's like a JPEG sequence or something like that, and you have to like
it's
estimate
exactly
it.
the case.
So having something like that,
I took this footage from some stock library of free shots, and I set up. And I have no additional information at all.
No.
And
that's really, really nice. Because that's usually the issue. Like you get no metadata from that kind of stuff. So that's really good to know. Have another tool in the back.
The problem is that you can't set up infinite number of keyframes in such a way. So after probably 10 keyframes, everything becomes really slow. Too many parameters to solve. Because you have to find position on every frame, expression on every frame, and it all works simultaneously when you drag pins. So it's just becomes not a real-time thing, which is weird. So, but 6, 8, even 9 keyframes is okay. So let's set up.
What is the least sort of? Is there like a
1
sort of lower limit? 1, okay.
Yeah, you can always try with 1, but if you have, for instance, here, let's delete this keyframe. Here I have profile view somewhere. Yeah, here. And it's, of course, it's beneficial to use different views as you can, because in that case you can get more information about 3D structure of the actor's face.
Mm-hmm.
Something goes wrong. Especially profile view, because profile view gives the most information about the depths, which you can't see on front view and even in 3/4. And here we go.
It's always hard with the long hair, like trying to figure out, okay, where is the back part of the head?
It's not only about long hair, but especially with high hair.
Yep.
Okay, here. Of course,
How does,
all our industry loves skin-shaved people because they are easy to track, easy to key for keying. And yeah, of course we love skinheads.
So what about how does it deal with facial masks? If you have some like some facial mask or something like that.
Well, basically,
I guess you just draw a region over that, and then.
Before everybody decided to wear a mask, we already have a tick here to switch off the part covered by the mask.
Yes, yes. Right.
So, yeah, we
Perfect.
knew something. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So now let's check all other keyframes and verify that everything is okay on them. I think that we created 4 keyframes and it's more or less enough. And the first one, okay. So cool, we aligned her face on 4 keyframes. The next thing would be exported, and prior actually you have to export it from FaceBuilder, get the model. So if we take a look at this model, it's a model in neutral expression. It's still a neutral expression, even it looks differently on 2D view. In 3D, it's still a neutral expression. And we can use this model now for FaceTracker. So we can use it like here, here, and here. But yeah, so now in FaceTracker we can do basically the same. FaceTracker and repeat this keyframe, but now in FaceTracker. Is
there a way to grab that data? Like,
yeah,
like
it's a bit
you
strange.
just set up a few frames?
That's why in FaceBuilder there is an expression, is a way how to export it, results, FaceTracker.
Yes.
And here we can export it. Will it link the focal lengths as well? Yep. So FaceTracker pixel, yeah, everything is okay. So now in FaceTracker we have already 4 keyframes. Now let's try to refine between them. And we need pre-analysis file. Let's find it. I already calculated 2. And yeah, refine it. It's not really an easy shot for tracking because there are quite a lot of hair and arm some moment, but let's try. How is the weather in Copenhagen?
It's been awful today. It's like raining all day, and we've had an issue with one of our. We have this chimney, and we did some modifications to it, like I think it's like 3 months ago, and apparently we forgot to add like the seal. So when it was raining, there was like small drips in. So I had to like in the rain go out and put that like seal on, stuff like that. Oh, it was quite unfortunate, but it was raining a lot. How about over there?
In St. Petersburg, it's
guess it's pretty much night now, but
and finally, it's just the last days of summer in St. Petersburg. What I'm doing right now, I'm adding some pins, because it exports, FaceBuilder exports keyframes, but without these points, without pins, because all pins on FaceBuilder are different on all keyframes. And in FaceTracker, all pins are shared between different keyframes. And that's why I'm created some pins to have a way to modify my keyframes. And I need to create some keyframe here probably. Basically, that's the reason why, for example, approach, how it's called, neural network approach and so on, doesn't work. Because in cinema we often have to deal with footages like this one, when you have lots of hair and some strange angles of view, strange lighting, and so on. And no neural network gonna work with all this stuff. And
it's interesting. We know those models that, I mean, they work like in all the perfect conditions, but we usually have like out of focus, like shallow depth of field and very close up, and things just start to break. So you have to have like full control over things rather than just having those like the black box thing.
But actually, it doesn't mean that we are not experimenting with deepfake. And of course, we feel that sometimes deepfake produces much better and much faster results that we can do now with FaceTracker. And we are going to... it's strange. I've added keyframe, and now everything is a bit worse here. I don't know why. Probably let's add one more keyframe. And so deepfakes, especially controllable deepfakes, it could be a really nice way to improve at least facial face swaps and so on pipelines in cinema. I'm not sure about retouching, but for changing completely the actor, it could work again quite well. So something like this, and now let's refine this part. Most likely,
it would be so nice if they had like an OpenGL sync kind of checkbox, like the full frame processing, where it kind of don't update the viewer without the GL thing being updated as well.
yes.
So we didn't have that one frame offset.
Probably I didn't get. What do you mean?
I mean, like when you screw up the timeline, it's like the GL view from the viewer, like the model itself is like one frame behind. So you drag it, and then it looks like it's offset, and then it kind of goes into the right position.
Basically, the issue of Nuke, that the context drawing is pretty slow, and OpenGL draws faster, and we see this one frame latency.
Yeah.
Reset expression and.
Because sometimes it's like you just tracked everything, and it's just like, oh my god, this is completely off. No, it's not when you like move a little bit slower. It'd be nice to have like a sync option from the Foundry.
One of the funny and really useful things which we've implemented quite long time ago is this unpin button, and we created it specifically for faces, because sometimes you don't need all pins and you just unpin them and activate them one by one, and it's for faces it's especially suitable.
Yeah, so you don't overpin like in some cases where you have like very like she changes her face from one angle to the other, and then some of the pins don't, you cannot use them anymore. It's just nice to just be able to right click on them. And I really love the whole like interaction with the FaceTracker and the FaceBuilder and everything. It's just so seamless and so easy to work with. Back in the day we were using the PF track a lot, and trying to align models and stuff like that. It just became a bit of a nightmare at some points. Where this is just so intuitive and easy to work with. It's a really amazing job you guys have done there.
We actually, the reason is that we just use it a lot.
Yeah. So you quickly get fed up with things that doesn't work. I remember like when the pin tool came out, it was, oh my god, why did the Foundry think of this? Because I mean, it's just such an easy way to like align models, and if you need to do projections, and there's something like small things that doesn't align, then just pin them into place.
And it is.
There we go.
Yeah. So let's try to center view. No, and again, SDD issue. Hey, Nuke. Please don't die.
It's gone pretty good so far. I mean, even in terms of the hard drive having issues. I guess I shouldn't say that too many times. Oh, there we go.
It's even not Nuke's issue. Usually I love to blame Nuke, but it's Windows issue. Yeah, let's save it. And let's now cache it. When I click on this small toggle button here, it's called center view, my view is floating around the face, so it moves, and it's easy to zoom in and zoom out without losing the face out of viewer. But why it's so terribly slow? Sometimes you have to just delete all cache.
That's always good.
I'm actually not a professional compositor, and I don't have such a cool machine for compositing. I'm not sure whether all compositors have to click this clear all button every time, but yeah, at least me.
Well, it's good from time to time. It is. I mean, especially, at work, we like have from 64 gigs all the way up to like 200 something gigs of RAM. And it's like some of the smallest machines, you usually have the habit of like every 10 minutes or something, just clear cache. unless it's something that is, I mean, where you actually need to have some cache in there.
Yeah. Oh, we're done.
Because you really quickly run out of memory. That looks good.
Not everything is perfect.
No, that's like in the end.
Absolutely, not everything
Yeah.
here should be covered mask again. But again, it's just 9 keyframes. We could add a little bit more to fix all this stuff, but more or less you got the idea how to tackle with the footage. With you have no idea how it was filmed and no reference frames for the actor. Cool. So let's switch back to our presentation and discuss first of all this stuff. And yeah, now let's discuss the question that was already asked, whether it's possible to use FaceTracker without FaceBuilder. And the answer is yes, of course. And if you have a 3D scan, it's even preferable. So you can create, use the exact scan of the human. This scan should be in neutral expression, and it should have the same topology as the FaceBuilder. So topology is kind of a key that we use for understanding what part of the mesh is actually what it's on the face. So where's nose, where's mouth, and so on. So it's kind of a markup for understanding internally what is what. And how to create this topology? It could be created with a wrap3. It's just amazing piece of software which works with, which can wrap any topology on top of any scan, and it's cool. And the thing is that let's say, for example, in
So if you had like a cat.
Well, actually,
if you have like a cat,
you can try. If you manage to wrap the human head's topology on top of the head scan, you can try to track head as well, cat's head as well. But the one important thing which I should show here, so okay, let's delete all this stuff with GeoTracker. Yes, and let's create one more FaceBuilder. So this FaceBuilder is Anthony's head. This FaceBuilder is just a standard FaceBuilder. The cool thing that I can create, for example, a clone of what I just clicked. Sorry. Okay. That's okay. And I can create a clone of my FaceTracker and attach another geometry to it. And if I open it, okay, according to the camera, where is my geometry? Hey. Let's create a scene, combine them together, and I also add some transform geo here, and transform geo, I'm gonna move it here like this. So there are two different heads. It's not that visible that they are different, but they are different, and but they moves exactly in the same way. So it basically means that you can create FaceBuilder from one actor, face building from another actor, or you can create a Themes. You can create FaceBuilder from some other source, like you can read it from scan and wrap, and then you can apply FaceTracker deformations on top of the FaceBuilder, which I believe a cool way to create some face swapping and so on, and we're gonna discuss it in details a bit later in other probably I think in the next stream. Okay, so now let's switch back to our presentation. How to do it? Here it is. And face parts. Well, basically we already discussed face parts. The only thing that I'm gonna add here that is sometimes I need really head of the back, even I don't need to track it, but it's cool to have a pin on it to place the model, to position the model, and so on. Rigidity, we already discussed it, but there is a small difference between two very similar things. First one is rigidity, and another one is expression smoothness. So first of all, what is expression smoothness? In GeoTracker, we had smoothness on this smoothing top, and all these parameters affect solver. So it means that if I click Z translation smoothing, it will lock the model in Z-axis, and it prevents actually jittering in Z-axis, which is pretty often situation when you track from one angle of view. But for face tracking, we also have facial expression smoothness here. So it means that you can track, for example, you have basically the same facial expression between two keyframes, like let's say here, let me find this shot. Here in the very end, it seems her facial expression is pretty the same on all the last part of the shot. So starting from here, I can say smoothing and say facial expressions maxima, expressimus maxima, and it won't change it during the tracking. So it means I can, let's delete all the tracking further and click track forward, and it won't change it. For some reason it really something really strange with tracking. Okay, I unpin all pins and fix it. But it won't affect keyframes. So during the keyframes, the thing is rigidity. So rigidity during the keyframe affects how easy to change facial expression, but facial facial smoothness affects tracking only. So here I'll try to set up the correct keyframe using only 3 pins, because 3 pins doesn't change facial expression, and everything changed starting from the 4th pin. Yep, something like this. Refine. It's very strange. What's going on? It seems like my precarg file is a bit slipped off my footage. Sometimes it's a case. Okay, and probably all my hairs should be covered here. Yeah, let's try this way. Yeah, much better.
Yeah, that's a good thing
And
to remember.
Okay, something like this. So, and in the very end of this shot, again, we don't change her expressions, and everything is okay. So yeah, that what, oop. It's really, for me it looks really strange that tracking is so not that good as in GeoTracker, for example. I don't know why. Nobody knows. Refine.
It's really nice that on-pen toggle.
Yeah, it helps a lot, especially if you have
Yeah.
lots of different pins. Sometimes,
Yeah.
we're gonna discuss it a bit later, you have pin on facial markers, and they just terrible number of pins. Okay, so let's go to Keynote. Roto mask with software mask. Usually I use surface masks because they're much faster to draw than Roto masks, and just change surface mask based on between different keyframes, and texture input. I think
I actually have one question regarding the custom model. If you like have a prosthetic, like some thing that's been put on, like an open jaw, for example, or something like that, where the actor has been painted over, does it work well with that? If there is any kind of changes to the, guess, basic structure of the face?
It's a good question. I'd say that if it's on some not moving part, for example, on a head, like if you add some horns, it will work. But if it's on a moving part, it depends on a kind of this part that you changed. So sometimes, for example, if it's I can't imagine. For example, if it's something on a jaw, most likely it will be okay. But if it's something, especially on the angles of mouth, there could be some issues, obviously, because and it will be really hard to wrap the topology on top of this. So probably there could be some issues.
So it's okay if some part of the topology has, like, I mean, where it's a bit changed, like if you have a scar and you model that as well with the custom geometry you created.
Yeah,
so that would be okay if it's like
it will be okay, I think. Yeah, it should be okay. So it basically means that it's just a bit different person. If it's still person, it's okay. The problem could be if you try to create, I don't know, like some monster out of the person, and it's not anatomically correct. There could be an issue. Okay, so texture input. Most likely I'm gonna discuss it next time, not this time. But generally it's just input for texturize this wireframe. So if I will add some, let's say, wireframe here for texture. Oh, not wireframe, sorry, checkerboard. Then all my wireframe is texturized to the texture of this. Well, when it's suitable to have such checkerboard, for instance, here in scanline render, I see that there are some spots, notable spots on a face, and let's create a rotor and create a brush. Where's my brush here? Because it's rotor and I want rotor paint. And here I'm gonna open brush, say all, and create some points on some important and notable parts. I even can add these points on top of the classical structure, like with eyebrows. Oops. Or eyes. You can make it more precisely. I do it pretty rough. And now I'm gonna use this model. By the way, I need to create some constant first, or not, no, probably not, and use it as a texture. Yeah, and now all these points are visible on a frame, on a wireframe, and I can use them as a guidance for setting up keyframes and verify that all these points are on the correct spots here on all frames. Like here. And
yes,
it's pretty good way to verify that your tracking is correct. Without, or actually you can, you have make it a bit differently. You can just set up pin here without any texture and verify that this pin is always on its place on every keyframe. But the difference with pin is that pin is always pin. It always drags somewhere. So if, for instance, you so at the end of the day you can have too many pins and it could be an issue.
yeah,
If you use this button pin on pin, it will help, but again, too many pins, sometimes it's not usable. That's the reason why we created this texture input. Also, sometimes you want to have some different parts, not only eyebrows, nose, top of the nose, eyes and mouth and ears, but for example, you want to add something on top of the cheeks or something like this. It depends on your task. So it's just for some additional abilities. Okay, we discuss it. And let's go further. Facial markers. It's probably the last thing that I'm going to discuss today. And I have one more project for this with Anthony. And with small pieces of tape on his face. And sometimes if you actually don't need the footage itself, but sometimes you need just the movement, facial movement and so on, you can add markers. Generally, FaceTracker is designed to be a markerless solution because it works with footage, with original footage. And but sometimes if you have markers for some reason, it would be silly not to use them. So what you can do in that particular case, let's calculate it. You can create ordinary 2D tracker in Nuke and track all of them across the sequence. Of course, I tracked not all of them, just several of them. Let's wait. A little bit. Have you ever used this feature?
I've never seen it before.
Actually, it's in most cases you just don't need it. But yeah, again, if you have this markers, let's use it. So for some reason it's really okay. I've created special sequence for this in JPEG to speed up the process. Because MP4 is long to use. Okay, one more time. Oh, yeah, it's faster. So of course it was created specifically for the test, but sometimes we get this footage with small dots on a face. Hey, it was so fast. The rest of the sequence. Why you decided to stop on this frame, buddy? I have no idea why it's so slow.
Is it running out of memory or something? No, it looks. No, only 20%. I can see.
Probably here on disk. Yes.
Oh, right.
And it could be an issue. Let's try to create.
Maybe for the other sequences, yeah.
Cache clear all. And here. And yep. Yeah, now it's faster.
Yep.
Yeah, so I've created a tracker node here. Tracker node with lots of 2D tracks. And hey, 2D tracks. What's going on with you? Why are you all static? Okay, because it should be selected. Not only selected, but also bring into viewer. Yeah, now they are moving. Kind of this. And then in FaceTracker, I'm gonna show you how to do it, but I won't do it because there is a really long time issue with Nuke. Probably some of you knows it. In FaceTracker, in user tracks tab, you can import tracks, select tracker, and click OK. And it will import on user tracks from this tracker node. And you got the result like this. All your user tracks here. But this process can take infinitely long, like 10 minutes or even 20 minutes, depending on the number of this trackers. And basically the same thing with camera tracker. And it's just the behavior of this table knob in Nuke. We reported it probably 2 years ago, but it's still open issue. So in FaceTracker, we now can do basically the same stuff as we did it before. So we just create, okay, we need a model. As it's Anthony, we can copy this model. And GeoTracker. I also want to find something strange here. I also want to find some camera information for it. Here's the camera, by the way. Cool. I also have it. And yeah, let's connect camera. And click Center Geo. And delete the keyframe. So now here I can just set up keyframe as usual.
Does that work for the object tracker as well?
Yes.
The GeoTracker?
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
It's exactly the same like it's in GeoTracker. There's but in FaceTracker probably it's more usual case, but also we improved this feature quite a lot since the stream when I was talking about it in GeoTracker. So I'm gonna show you some new stuff here. And yeah, so I set up a keyframe And now you see all my let's close everything. All my trackers now are these pink crosses here. So in FaceTracker now I can set up the second keyframe, for example here. Okay, let's for example say here. And now when I'm setting up keyframe, it will automatically show me the distance between the cross and its surface point on the surface. So now when I set up keyframe, I have to verify that all these residuals of these blue ropes are of zero size, zero length. So I just dragging it to fix it, and of course all these trackers could, so I just drag the end of the rope and drag it to the pin. So in such a way I can verify that everything is correctly aligned on my face.
Is there a way to yeah, I guess that you get some occlusion, so it would be hard to do an automatic sync all the points that are available.
Well, there's no automatic sync at the moment because sometimes it produces some weird results, but basically it's an interesting idea to have at least a button for this. But yeah, what is more important, all these tracks are used during the refinement. So when I refine the sequence, everything is all these points used for tracking, and so they are kind of gold tracks or something. So yeah, that's why usually you don't need to set up keyframes for this.
So theoretically, if there was something coming in front of the plate that were kind of obscuring the optical flow or whatever you're using for the other tracker, would that somehow help it if you had those kind of gold trackers underneath?
Well,
if it was smoke or something that you can...
yeah, if it's just kind of a smoke, yes, it will definitely help, yeah. So if you know how to track it, if you can add some manual track, yes, it will definitely help in such case. But if it's just complete occlusion, then most likely it's better to cover it with surface mask or something like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and what also important, all tracks can have a lifetime. Something strange here. Oh, okay.
So it respects the lifetime of the tracker itself?
Yes. And what is... not only lifetime, but yeah, there's no lifetime. We just use lifetime from the tracker, but also we have some tolerance information. So it's how accurate this, how we think that our tracker is accurate. So sometimes you know that the quality of the tracker 10 pixels accuracy. So and you can say that this accuracy 10 pixels and set up it here and so on.
Right.
And it's pretty useful. And also you can select reference frame where you project the 2D tracker on a surface. And reference frame, it's pretty important to set up the correct reference frame. Usually it should be a frame where you see this tracker in a best way, without any stretching on, without some harsh angles and so on.
Yeah.
Well, something like this. I don't know why. I have some strange tracking results here. Honestly, I can't understand why so. Probably I set up some wrong keyframes somewhere. Oh. Yeah, there is definitely an issue.
But yeah, I can imagine like if you have like a window in front of the person where there's some reflections, and where usually a feature-based tracker would be better than the optical flow-based solution, that it would be perfect for those kind of situations.
Yes, basically, I think that we created it in GeoTracker specifically for this. Yeah, so it could because sometimes, especially when you toggle with with some foggy conditions and so on, and yeah, point-based tracker is much better on fog. Well, I'd say that there are still some issues with, for example, this tone here. By the way, sometimes it's better to switch off the internal part of the mouse. Where is mouth? Here, yeah. So now in FaceTracker, it's much better to track it without it. It won't affect the result. So usually for tracking, you switch it off and switch it on back for projection stuff and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so something completely wrong here. Let's refine it. Do we have any questions?
Yeah, perhaps I asked if it was possible to go over the workflow of bringing in the ABC or FBX for the head model to be used with the FaceTracker.
Well, then after tracking, you can add here right node and what's called right geo node. Right geo node. And the very important thing here in right geo, you have set up use ABC, not FBX, and on ABC. Why ABC? Alembic is well, because there is an bug with FBX support, animated FBX support in Nuke, and you just won't have your animation in FBX. So animated geometries you have to export through Alembic always, and then you can export it and open in any other software. If you don't need FaceTracker movement, if you need just deformation of the face, you can on results tab delete all translation and rotation information, so the model of the head will be in 0, 0, 0, and there will be just a deformation of the model, so you can use it later in pipeline for animation and so on. And basically that's it. Pretty straightforward.
So for what he's asking, I guess he made the other way around, like how to get the model in, like how to do the whole topology thing.
I
like
got it.
Converting.
So, in vice versa. So then you just import the model and use it as an input. instead of FaceBuilder, and that's it.
So you would like first, I guess, export the FaceBuilder to get the topology as sort of a reference.
Yeah. If you need to wrap it, yes, you first export FaceBuilder, so you get the topology, then you use this topology inside Rep3. Let's open it here. I like to promote good tools. Rep3. It has a bit strange domain name, but yeah, again, so it's the thing when you just get the topology.
We present Rep3.
We present Rep3. You get the topology and connect the topology and scan together. It has also node architecture like a Nuke, and then click wrap, and it wraps the topology on top of the scan. Everything is pretty straightforward. And you also, like in FaceBuilder, you can set up several key points to simplify this process as much as possible. So there are some results, and it works for any model, not only for faces. I really like it. I believe it's just insanely cool. So
there are no additional specifications for the model, anything that needs to be added, or does it just work out of the box?
Yes, basically out of the box, but sometimes you just have to point some reference points. Like for example here, there are points on the top of the every finger, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points, and it's pretty enough. Even that there is some additional object here. Okay, honestly, not everything as perfect as on this demo. There are of course some issues, but basically it does its job really good. Well, let's return to our where it is. So when you have facial markers, again, you can use user tracks. You can set up pin to every marker and use them. And the last way how to do it without creating any surface and so on, sometimes I use it. I just can, in FaceTracker, I can took my brush here, and if I don't have any other brushes, I can draw several polygons on every spot. And for example, click ignore this mask. So they are still a little bit covered by mask. You can see them, you can use it as some guides, and at the same time it won't affect tracking, and they will help. They will be used for tracking all of them. So it works well. And probably it was the last trick, and it's time for questions. So it was pretty long stream. Do we have any viewers still?
Yeah.
Oh, 30 people. Cool.
2 hours. Yeah.
So, folks, if you have any questions, to me or to Mads about his tools, probably, we are happy to answer. And by the way, if you don't have questions right now, you can ask them in Discord, or also there is a also we send all information from the recent streams, like projects and the materials and so on, so you can try it on your own. So questions, guys.
So, Professor, actually, it feels better have to correctly topologized model versus simply having FaceBuilder? It's like what's best, like to have the.
I'd say that the more accurate model you have for FaceTracker, the better result you get. So if you have a scan, then it's better to use scan, of course. FaceBuilder was created for situations when you can't get the scan, when you just have several photos or just several frames from the footage and so on. So FaceBuilder was created not for there's one more thing. FaceBuilder is much faster. So scanning process is much more tedious. You first scan it, then you get extreme resolution for all small details, even all small features on a skin, and then you retopologize it to lose all these details and to get much less polygonal model. So it's just lots of redundant work. So sometimes FaceBuilder is just faster to create, and that's it. So that's why usually I use FaceBuilder because I have no scanner here. Yep.
So there's Winder, who asked when you match the FaceBuilder model to a specific frame of a footage, why do I have to reposition the model in the FaceTracker node again on that specific frame?
Oh, you don't need it. Oh, Mads, could you answer this question?
Yeah, you just like in the stream where you just put it in with the connection thingy. Because when you do it by default, it automatically just have the center geo. But if you connect it, it should keep the position from and the orientation
here
from
in
the FaceBuilder.
In FaceBuilder, we have FaceTracker export option, and we export FaceTracker right from FaceBuilder with all frames that were aligned in FaceBuilder. So, are there any more questions?
Yeah, so Akam asked for removing tracker on the face. What's the best approach by using face texture? So if you want to remove the face markers, what is the best approach?
Well, the best approach usually is just first track it, and then stabilize it, unwrap it to 3D, and remove it to UV, and remove it on UV, and then put them back on top of the original footage using again FaceTracker. So it's general retouching process, and probably it's the most efficient one. Probably not the best one, because scanline render, actually there would be 2 scanlines rendered in this pipeline, and they are not that fast because scanliner is relatively slow node. But yeah, it's the only way you can do it right now in Nuke.
I guess alternatively, you could also just put some small roto paints in there, and then do like an in paint node at the end. So after the 3D model. But I guess the thing is
you mean export the mask for in paint? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, rather than I would prefer to do it in the UV space, but you can also just do it directly on the model, and then have just in one frame, and use that as a reference frame.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have all of the alpha channels. I guess you have an alpha channel with all the spots, and then use like an in-paint node or whatever kind of frequency separation you would like to use. But the cool thing about using a UV space is that it's constant. You don't need to fight any kind of deformations or anything like that.
Yeah, the main issue with markers is on the border. So when you're rotating your head, you see like a half of the marker, and half of the marker goes to background, and in UV space you never have the issue with it. But in 2D, there are always some struggling and suffering on all these border markers.
So Faster asks, when is the body tracker coming out?
Good question. Well, I'd say that body tracker. Well, first of all, we several streams ago with Victor Paris, we played with a prototype of body tracker, but the problem is that it's still quite a lot of things under research, and research is usually unpredictable in time, and that's the reason why I don't want to give any estimates for this. But we definitely won't stop the research. We're gonna continue it and release it at some point. Also, it's really depends on. Honestly, it really depends on situation on the market, because now with all this lockdown, COVID stuff, everything is a bit more slowly than it could be, and we have to move more accurate with more accurate steps, I'd say. Yep.
So in terms of the FaceTracker itself, is it something that you're pursuing, like getting it into other products other than Nuke?
I'm working now on porting FaceTracker to After Effects. And because there is FaceTracker in After Effects already, but it's hardly usable, I'd say. It's automatic, but it's 2D as a whole After Effects thing. But I think that this combination of 2D and 3D with some abilities to export it to 3D elements, 3D and so on, could be really useful for the market. And again, the tracker process itself is much handier than just manually moving 2D points, which leads to jittering and so on. So, but After Effects, Nuke's SDK is not perfect at all, but in contrast to After Effects, Nuke's SDK is just brilliant. There are some issues. One of the major issues is that there is no way to draw some OpenGL stuff rapidly in Nuke or in After Effects. So all these masks and stuff can't be drawn fast enough.
No.
Well, if we have no more questions.
Actually, one question.
Yeah.
When can we expect the indie version to come out?
It depends on Foundry mostly. So they should come up with some final decision how to implement it, and we then incorporate it in our build steps and so on. So it's not the ball currently on their side. So
okay.
If we have no more questions, I wanna say thank you to all our viewers, and of course for Mads, because first of all, it's always great to chat with you, Mads. Thank you a lot.
You too, man.
And I really hope that probably at some point we create something which will combine GeoTracker or FaceTracker with Point Tracker, because it would be, I think it should look at least really cool.
Like we did talk about making a demo at SIGGRAPH. It was quite interesting, but we didn't get the time to do it. But it would be like a cool thing.
Yeah, and SIGGRAPH now is not a cool thing at all.
No. Yeah, that was back in 2019. It's like we were talking a bit about it, like making like a short demo of combining the two things. But just
Yeah, I think
never really
that,
got
for
to do it.
example, we can create something, especially if you can create something like a body tracker, you can create something like a body in fire or freezing or something. Yeah, it could be funny. Cool.
Yeah.
So thank you all. Thank you for your support, for all your questions, and see you next time. Bye.